Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Dog Talk. This is episode 38A.
I'm Cam and this is Julie.
Yes.
This week's Torah portion will go from Leviticus 6 to the end of 8. And last week we looked at how if you want to draw near to bring a korban, the Lord gave various ways to do so, okay? And it dealt the priest roles. It showed how it was interacting with the individuals who had a vested interest in what they brought. This week's is looking at the priest and their vested interest in their own, commands, how they are to handle what they bring, how they bring it, and how they work with the general public, for lack of another way to put it. But before we go there, I want to touch on this week's celebration of Purim, which will be the 24th. That is Thursday. We celebrate the preservation of the Lord's people.
Right.
So what happens, basically, to put it in a nutshell, in the book of Esther is what we read and we celebrate. And when Haman's name is said, boo. When Esther's name is said, yay. We have an entire book that we never see the name of God.
Right.
Ever. Yet hidden within there is his powerful hand. How he saves the people. And there is a pattern there. And you can take it all the way back to Esau and to Jacob. Mm-hmm. From the line of Esau, you have Amalek. And from the line of Jacob, you have Israel, who we have the first king, Saul. Not David, but Saul, who's the line of Benjamin. Okay, and Saul didn't do what he was supposed to with Amalek. All right. And so we end up now, fast forward to the time
hundreds of years later,
of the Persian Empire, and we have a gentleman named Haman and a gentleman named Mordecai. Both the same family lines. This is one of Benjamin, but this is one of Saul's family lines. And Amalek is Haman is one of Amalek's family lines. They meet again, all right? Yes. It's just, you see it over and over. You would say it's actually the spirit of the Antichrist. That's the most popular, right, term you would hear today. And so what we have where it's to kill the people, just to kill God's people. And that's where we first see Amalek, and that's in Exodus 17, where he's just coming to fight the people as they come out of Egypt for no reason, just to kill them. And that is the goal of the enemy, just to kill his people. Because remember, the Lord says he's not coming back until his people call for him. So what better way to make sure that Messiah never returns? Wipe out the people who are supposed to call him. Right. We see that still again in the Persian Empire, okay, which is Iran. They want to exterminate the Jews, right? They want to exterminate God's people, not just the Jews, but anyone who affiliates them with themselves with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So if Thursday afternoon you get a chance, you think about it, just thank the Lord that he has preserved himself, his remnant, and that his hand remains over us. Even when we don't see him, he is definitely acting. He is definitely moving. So we should never doubt that, okay? Don't see with your eyes, listen with your ears. Now for this week's Torah portion. Starting with 6:8 of Leviticus, we see where now the Lord speaks to Moses saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the Torah of the burnt offering. This is the ascent offering, because it is burned on the altar all night until morning, and the fire of the slaughter, or the fire of the altar, is kept burning on it. So we start with the offering that's going to basically be before the Lord at all times. We have Yeshua who's before the Lord at all times for us. When we see in 1 John, when John says, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, right? And then we see also where it says, behold, this is the Passover lamb. Those are two different lambs he's being referred to. The one, let me explain how it worked. There was a morning offering and an evening offering. So you would have the lamb in the morning, and then everything that happened in the day, and then you would have the lamb at night. It sandwiched it, okay? Those were the ones that were given wholly, totally to the Lord, and everything in between was carried with it, okay? It was considered the continual offering. When we're told to be in prayer continually, it comes from that. In the morning and the afternoon, and all the things that happen in between it should be sandwiched with that, okay? Mm-hmm. We're not really, the understanding isn't that we are to be on our knees for 24 hours, 7 days a week, because then how would we function? How would we be a light? How would we do all the other things that we're asked to do in order to represent him? The Lord, Yeshua, when he walked here, he always had that prayer time, right? He's wanting to draw near, just like we're told to do. And we see that in this week's Torah portion, where the priests, before they draw near, they bring a sin offering. Not because they're so wrong, but they just may miss the mark. Okay, they draw near. There is an order in which they draw near, and after that is when they give their total. They say yes. Now, this is a thought that hit me this morning, and I'm not really sure what to do with it. Today's society, we tend to look at that and go, ooh, animal cruelty, ooh. And I thought, how far have we come from the way the Lord intended to meet with us, that we see what he's asking us to do as cruel and inhumane? We don't understand that in the blood is life. And that is the only way that while we're on this earth, okay, like this, we can draw near to him to the fullest extent. No, that in Ezekiel 40 to 46 and in Zechariah 14, just those two verses make it very clear that there will be offerings again in the end. We have also in Colossians 2, I believe it's 11, that talks about shadows. The feasts are foreshadows, okay?
Of what's to come.
Of what's to come. And that was after Yeshua had already come and gone back up, okay? And it was still in future tense. And you have to remember, yes, it says feast. However, in the feasts and festivals, what is required when there's a temple are offerings to draw near. So obviously those things, yes, it was looking forward, but even after that time that Yeshua has already ascended, we're still seeing it as a foreshadow of what's to come. Mm-hmm. So for our mindset to be, oh, that is disgusting, it says something about where we are as society, where we are as believers. We are so far from his ways that it's hard for us to even fathom. Now,
well, can I say something?
Yeah.
In a way, it's, again, trying to usurp God's ways and, put our own ways in there, because if he's a loving God, then why is it so far-fetched? Instead of us saying, oh, that's so cruel, we should say, well, maybe this is what God created them for.
Yeah, maybe, and we don't understand the whole picture.
Right.
So we have the continual offering that's burning, okay? And the idea of that taking away sin, while it is a burnt offering, completely given up, it's that it houses it. It's that this pure one and this pure one takes it within themselves. Just like Yeshua as the pure one, right? He was put on the cross at the morning offering, and he died at the evening offering. So
all
everything,
the sin in between,
he took on him, just like those lambs are to do. Another point about understanding the significance of these offerings and the detailed description of how to draw near. Understand everything, right? Yeshua says in Psalms 40 that the volume of this book is written for me, about me, right? Everything. So let's look at Moses. When Moses struck that rock the second time, when he was told to speak to it, he broke a pattern in which they would have helped them recognize Yeshua Messiah when he came, okay? Mm-hmm. Well, if these are to speak of Messiah, and then we go and we change them, we are changing the pattern in which he will fulfill. Just following the continuing offering, what we see is the bread offering, okay? The unleavened bread that's being broken, that's being lifted up, all right? So we see in 6:15 where it's basically saying, take this part. It's in remembrance, okay, to the Lord. Yeah. Well, don't we have Yeshua saying, do this in remembrance of me, yes, right? And then we have in 1 Corinthians 11:25 where he's talking to him about, look, do this in remembrance of the Lord, right? But hey, you better take it properly, because if you don't, you'll die. You'll have death. And we see this, that when those things are set aside to be holy and then they're used incorrectly, you're be cut off, okay? It's exactly what Paul's talking about. Look, you're mistreating this holy thing. You're bringing it out from where it shouldn't be brought out from, and you're going to be cut off.
Yeah.
And this is where it all comes from. Remember, we're called to be priests, right? That doesn't mean that we have the right to go in and take the sons of Aaron's job. But in the heavenly realm, we still have a responsibility in a priesthood that says you don't take things that are holy and throw it before pigs. You don't take things that are holy that shouldn't be taken out, to the world, out of the sanctuary, okay, out of the tabernacle. The things that aren't supposed to be brought into, you don't bring into. We have all those things that still apply to our life that we have to learn in the Word what not to spiritually contaminate ourselves.
I think that's where we went wrong as a congregation. As an assembly, is we brought the world's way of doing things into our assembly, and now Absolutely. We're trying to function and present it as truth, and it doesn't work.
Right. We do see that all the sons of Aaron, all the priests, they can all eat this bread. They can all eat of the offerings that is to be given. They can all eat of it.
That
However,
makes sense.
Yeah, exactly, because we're all to partake in the
That's
Lord, right? However, you can't, the person who's involved in that one offering is the one who eats of that. But we're all able to. So when we do the will of our Father, the person who's doing it is able to eat of that fruit. But we all have the opportunity to do that when we are walking the way we should, right? Another neat thing in this week is we see back in Exodus 24. If you remember, we have where basically it's the wedding, right? Yes, we do, and then he sprinkles blood on them, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then remember golden calf, so that was broken, and then we see the covenant being reinstated, but we don't see any blood being splattered. But this week, we almost see that now with the remnant idea. We see this small group of priests, okay, who, again, it grows. It grows so much that later in the time of David, he has to set up 24 courses so that they can come in at certain times throughout the year, about averaging 2 weeks a year, to come and serve. So you have all these priests. But here we see where Aaron and his sons are being dedicated, okay, and in that, blood is sprinkled on them, and it's put on their ear and their thumb, right thumb, and their right toe, big toe, right? Because it's what they hear, it's what they do, it's where they walk, all right? The really interesting thing is once these things are done, once they have the blood on their ear and their toe and their thumb, right? After that, now they're clothed. And how are they clothed? It's like, and then they're anointed, okay? And then they're clothed. We talk about in the armor of God, right? The full armor. Mm-hmm. Now you're ready.
Yes.
Now you've come before him. You've said, I'm sorry for what I've missed, how I've missed the mark. I give you my all. Now peace offering, okay? Because you can't commune until you've gotten it right, and then give it your all. And I love it because we see Moshe, who's not of the line of Aaron, yet he's going through the same role of the high priest, because Yeshua goes through the same role, the heavenly high priest, doing this for us, covering us with his blood, right? He's gone through, he was every single sacrifice, right? Mm-hmm. He was our portion. We commune with him, we're covered with the blood, and then he gives us the proper dressing to wear to go out and stand to be the light for him. I mean, how awesome is that when you realize that it's not a matter of, oh, well, I'm not a line of Aaron. No, but we have the same opportunity in the heavenlies to draw close to him and to be clothed like that in order to be sons of God, new creations, and in order to be the lights of the world like we're asked to be. And he gives us all the supplies to do it.
I mean, this is why Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Yes.
Because once he resurrected and we came in, this is a spiritual bond that we have. So the kingdom of heaven is at hand because now we get to partake.
Right.
Not physically partake in a physical temple, but like Paul said, our praises, we get to partake like priests should. That's why Peter says we are acting as priests now to the nations.
Absolutely. And again, the fulfillment of that in the physical, when he returns, will be there. And an interesting point is one of the claims today that Judaism has, why Yeshua wasn't Messiah, was because he didn't bring peace, because he has to fulfill this. And a part of the peace offering is to have that commune. However, what's being missed is that he did in the spiritual bring us together with peace.
Oh my gosh.
But not on the earthly, because he said, I'm bringing the sword. But when he returns the second time, he brings peace on earth. Again, had he done it all at one time, you wouldn't have A-B that's going to come together. You know, so he's done the part between us and the Father, but he's not yet done the part on earth.
You know, that's what I love about the book of Hebrews, is taking all of this and with the understanding of Yeshua being the heavenly.
Yes. And
explaining, look, while this is, yes, important, it's the shadow of a bigger reality.
Yes.
He wasn't saying, oh, this isn't important anymore. I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, he was just showing how the earthly is a shadow of the heavenly. And look, if
he was just expanding their understanding.
And think about this, like a hand. If you remove the heavenly, there's no shadow. Right. So in suggesting that, oh, it's all done away with, then you're suggesting so is the heavenlies. In 8:6 we see, I love it, where Moses, what does he do? He brings them in. This is just before he dresses them, and he washes them. He's washing them just before he dresses them. Hello. Well, Yeshua's gone through all the time of teaching the disciples, right?
Right.
And what's he do? He washes their feet. He's getting them ready. because he's about to do all the other offerings
It's
to
really
bring
a
them in.
renewal of their walk is what that represented.
That's why when Peter's like, oh, wash my whole body, he's like, why? Your whole body isn't dirty.
Yeah.
It's just your feet
Your
from
feet.
the everyday contact with the world.
Right.
It's got to be clean. That's why we're to continually, in the morning and the evening prayer, draw to him. Well, that is going to conclude this week's short portion for us. Trust me, there's so much more we could dig down. I mean, between the Hebrew words that are being used and the order in which things are being given. Oh my gosh. And it truly does weave all the way through. The idea of the sacrifices goes from Genesis all the way through. The first time we see it is when the Lord's covering. And in the end, we're going to see the Lord Yeshua covering again, because every time we see
Ooh, it'll be sandwiched.
Yes. Oh yeah, I want that. Yeah, because we know that he's going to have to do the red heifer in order to have the temple reestablished when he comes. So there we go. Yeah, Genesis and Revelation. What? Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the flip side with Julie and the Brit Hadashah. Shalom.